The global framework established by the International Council on the Reality Language, ICRL, marked a significant step toward ethical stewardship and international cooperation. However, the journey of understanding the reality language was far from complete. As researchers delved deeper into the language's intricacies, new discoveries continued to emerge, each raising profound questions about the nature of the language and its creators. Dr. Maya Carter, at the forefront of these efforts, was particularly intrigued by the possibility that the reality language might contain layers of meaning and knowledge yet to be uncovered. The discovery of the alien warning had been a pivotal moment, suggesting that the language's creators had embedded ethical and philosophical teachings within its structure. This revelation led Maya to speculate that there could be even more hidden within the language, perhaps a codex or repository of advanced knowledge and wisdom. Maya's suspicions were heightened by a recent discovery of a previously unnoticed pattern in the ancient inscriptions. The pattern, which appeared across multiple artifacts and inscriptions, suggested a form of coded information. Unlike the symbolic and direct communicative aspects of the language, this pattern seemed to function more like a key or cipher, hinting at deeper layers of understanding. Intrigued and eager to explore this possibility, Maya assembled a team of experts in linguistics, cryptography, and ancient languages. The team included Dr. Elias Voss, a leading authority on ancient scripts and symbols, and Dr. Sofia Ramirez, a renowned cryptographer with a background in both human and alien languages. Together, they embarked on a detailed analysis of the inscriptions, seeking to unlock the potential hidden codex. The process was complex and demanding, requiring meticulous cross-referencing of symbols, patterns, and contextual clues. The team employed advanced computational tools to analyze the inscriptions alongside traditional linguistic and cryptographic methods. As they worked, they encountered numerous challenges, including the inherent ambiguity of ancient symbols and the possibility that the codex, if it existed, might be based on principles entirely unfamiliar to human understanding. Despite these challenges, the team made steady progress. They identified several key symbols that appeared to function as markers or guides, suggesting a pathway through the inscriptions. These symbols seemed to correspond to certain philosophical or conceptual themes, such as balance, unity, and enlightenment. The team hypothesized that these themes might represent core teachings or values of the alien civilization, encoded within the language as a form of universal wisdom. As the research continued, Maya and her team uncovered a particularly intriguing set of inscriptions, which they dubbed the Hidden Codex. This codex appeared to contain a structured sequence of symbols, unlike anything they had seen before. The sequence was complex and multi-layered, with interlocking patterns that suggested a highly sophisticated form of communication. The team speculated that the Hidden Codex might serve as a guide or manual for understanding the deeper aspects of the reality language. It could potentially contain advanced knowledge about the nature of reality, consciousness, and the ethical use of the language. If so, the Codex represented an extraordinary opportunity to gain insights into the minds of the alien creators and their vision for the use of the reality language. However, deciphering the Hidden Codex was no simple task. The symbols were dense with meaning, and the interlocking patterns suggested that the Codex was designed to be read on multiple levels. The team realized that understanding the Codex would require not just linguistic and cryptographic skills, but also a deep engagement with the philosophical and ethical questions it raised. To aid in this effort, Maya reached out to scholars and thinkers from a wide range of disciplines, including philosophy, ethics, theology, and cognitive science. She believed that a multidisciplinary approach was essential for unraveling the Codex's mysteries and for interpreting its potential teachings in a meaningful way. As the team worked, they began to piece together a tentative interpretation of the Hidden Codex. The Codex seemed to articulate a vision of reality as an interconnected web of relationships, where consciousness and matter were deeply intertwined. It emphasized principles of balance, harmony, and ethical responsibility, suggesting that the reality language was intended to be used as a tool for fostering understanding and unity, rather than for manipulation or control. One particularly striking passage in the Codex spoke of a great balance that underpinned the cosmos, a balance that could be disrupted by the misuse of the language. This passage reinforced the warnings that Maya and her team had previously uncovered, highlighting the profound ethical implications of the language's use. The interpretation of the Codex was still preliminary, and much work remained to be done. However, the findings were enough to prompt Maya and her colleagues to present their initial results to the ICRL and the broader scientific and philosophical communities. They emphasized the need for caution and humility in interpreting the Codex, acknowledging the possibility of multiple interpretations and the limits of their understanding. The presentation of the Hidden Codex findings sparked widespread interest and debate. Scholars, ethicists, and scientists engaged in lively discussions about the implications of the Codex, exploring its potential teachings and the lessons it might hold for humanity. There was a growing sense that the reality language, and the Codex in particular, represented not just a technological or linguistic breakthrough, but a profound opportunity for ethical and philosophical reflection. For Maya, the discovery of the Hidden Codex was a deeply moving and transformative experience. It reinforced her belief in the importance of ethical stewardship and the need for a holistic approach to the study of the reality language. She felt a profound sense of responsibility to ensure that the Codex's teachings were understood and respected, and that the language was used in ways that honored its creator's vision of balance, harmony, and unity. As the research continued, Maya and her team remained committed to exploring the Codex's depths and sharing their findings with the global community. They knew that the journey of understanding the reality language was far from over, and that the challenges and opportunities it presented would require ongoing dialogue, reflection, and cooperation. The discovery of the Hidden Codex marked a new chapter in the story of the reality language. A chapter that promised to deepen humanity's understanding of reality, consciousness, and the ethical use of power. It was a chapter that called for unity, wisdom, and a commitment to the greater good, and one that Maya was determined to help write with integrity and care. The unveiling of the Hidden Codex within the reality language brought an influx of interest from scholars, governments, and the public. As Dr. Maya Carter and her team delved deeper into the Codex, they encountered increasingly complex and profound philosophical ideas, which seemed to transcend the traditional boundaries of science and technology. These discoveries highlighted the reality language's potential as a tool for exploring and understanding the fabric of reality, consciousness, and ethics. However, the newfound insights also brought forth significant ethical dilemmas. The Codex's teachings on balance, harmony, and the interconnectedness of all things emphasized the need for ethical considerations in the use of the reality language. This message resonated deeply with Maya, reinforcing her long-held belief in the importance of responsible stewardship. Yet, as the team shared their findings with the international community, they faced growing concerns and debates about the implications of these teachings. One of the most pressing ethical conundrums revolved around the idea of who should have access to the knowledge contained within the Hidden Codex. The Codex suggested that misuse of the reality language could lead to catastrophic consequences, potentially disrupting the great balance that underpinned the cosmos. This raised questions about whether it was ethical to make such knowledge widely available, or if it should be restricted to prevent potential misuse. Maya and her team, while advocates for open science and the democratization of knowledge, recognized the gravity of the situation. They understood that the teachings of the Codex carried a dual-edged potential, to enlighten and guide, or to be misinterpreted and misused. The team faced a difficult decision on how to handle the dissemination of their findings, knowing that their choices could have far-reaching implications. To navigate this ethical landscape, Maya convened a series of roundtable discussions involving ethicists, philosophers, scientists, and representatives from the ICRL and other international bodies. The goal was to engage in a deep and open dialogue about the responsibilities and challenges associated with the Hidden Codex, and to explore possible frameworks for ethical dissemination and use. During these discussions, several key questions emerged. Who decides access? Who has the authority to decide who can access the teachings of the Hidden Codex? Should access be restricted to certain individuals or groups? And if so, based on what criteria? Transparency versus control. How can the balance be struck between transparency and the need for control to prevent misuse? What mechanisms can ensure that knowledge is shared responsibly without imposing undue censorship or control? Global equity. How can global equity be ensured in the dissemination of the Codex's teachings? How can we prevent disparities in access that might exacerbate existing inequalities? Ethical education. What role does ethical education play in the dissemination of the Codex's teachings? How can individuals be prepared to understand and apply this knowledge responsibly? The discussions were intense and multifaceted, reflecting the complex nature of the ethical challenges at hand. Some participants argued for a more open approach, emphasizing the importance of transparency and the risks of concentrating knowledge in the hands of a few. Others advocated for stricter controls, citing the potential dangers of misuse and the need to protect the public and the global balance. Maya, navigating these diverse perspectives, emphasized the need for a balanced and inclusive approach. She advocated for the establishment of an ethical oversight framework that would include broad representation from different cultures, disciplines, and sectors. This framework would be tasked with developing guidelines for the dissemination and use of the Hidden Codex, ensuring that decisions were made transparently and ethically. The idea of an ethical oversight framework gained traction, leading to the formation of the Ethical Council for the Reality Language, under the auspices of the ICRL. This council was composed of ethicists, scientists, philosophers, and civil society leaders, representing a wide range of perspectives and expertise. Its mandate was to oversee the responsible dissemination of the Codex's teachings and to provide guidance on ethical issues related to the reality language. The Ethical Council faced immediate challenges, particularly in establishing criteria for access and developing educational programs to accompany the dissemination of the Codex's teachings. They recognized that simply providing access to the knowledge was insufficient. There needed to be a robust framework for ethical education and reflection, helping individuals and communities to understand and apply the teachings responsibly. To this end, the Council proposed the development of an international curriculum focused on the ethical, philosophical, and practical aspects of the reality language and the Hidden Codex. This curriculum would be made available to educational institutions, research organizations, and the public, providing a foundation for responsible engagement with the language's teachings. The curriculum aimed to foster a deep understanding of the interconnectedness and balance emphasized by the Codex, encouraging a holistic and ethical approach to knowledge and power. It included modules on the history and context of the reality language, ethical theories and frameworks, and practical applications and implications. The curriculum also emphasized critical thinking and reflection, encouraging learners to engage with the teachings in a thoughtful and nuanced way. As these initiatives took shape, Maya continued to play a central role in advocating for ethical stewardship and global cooperation. She participated in public forums, media interviews, and educational outreach programs, sharing her insights and encouraging a broad and inclusive dialogue about the reality language. The ethical conundrum posed by the Hidden Codex was a profound reminder of the responsibilities that came with knowledge and power. It highlighted the need for continuous reflection, dialogue, and ethical vigilance, recognizing that the choices made today would have lasting implications for the future. For Maya, the journey was both challenging and inspiring. She felt a deep sense of responsibility to ensure that the teachings of the Codex were understood and applied in ways that honored the principles of balance, harmony, and unity. She believed that the reality language had the potential to be a force for positive change, fostering a deeper understanding of reality and a more ethical and compassionate world. As the Ethical Council and the international community continued their work, Maya remained hopeful and committed. She knew that the path forward would require patience, wisdom, and collaboration, but she was confident that together they could navigate the ethical conundrum and unlock the full potential of the reality language for the benefit of all humanity. The The discovery of the Hidden Codex was a turning point, a moment of deep ethical reflection and commitment to the greater good. It was a moment that called for unity, wisdom, and a shared vision of a more enlightened and ethical future, and one that Maya was determined to help realize with integrity and care. As the Ethical Council for the Reality Language began its work, the international community faced the challenge of implementing the proposed guidelines and educational frameworks for the responsible dissemination of the Hidden Codex's teachings. The Council's formation marked a significant step toward ethical stewardship, but it also raised questions about enforcement and compliance, especially given the diverse and sometimes conflicting interests of different nations and organizations. Dr. Maya Carter, deeply involved in the Council's activities, became a central figure in efforts to build consensus and promote a unified approach to the challenges posed by the reality language. The Council's work was guided by principles of transparency, inclusivity, and respect for cultural diversity, recognizing that the ethical considerations surrounding the language were complex and multifaceted. One of the Council's first initiatives was the establishment of a Guardians of Knowledge program. This program aimed to train individuals and institutions in the ethical, philosophical, and practical aspects of the reality language, with a particular focus on the teachings of the Hidden Codex. E-Guardians would act as stewards of knowledge, ensuring that the language was used responsibly and ethically within their respective communities. The Guardians of Knowledge program was designed to be both rigorous and inclusive. It included comprehensive training modules covering the history and context of the reality language, ethical theories and frameworks, critical thinking, and practical applications. The program also emphasized the importance of ongoing reflection and dialogue, encouraging guardians to engage with their communities and facilitate discussions about the ethical implications of the language. Maya, alongside her colleagues and other experts, played a key role in developing the curriculum and training materials for the program. They drew on a wide range of disciplines and perspectives, incorporating insights from philosophy, ethics, cognitive science, and cultural studies. The goal was to provide a holistic and nuanced understanding of the reality language, preparing guardians to navigate the complexities and responsibilities of their role. The selection of guardians was a critical aspect of the program. The Council sought individuals who demonstrated not only intellectual and ethical acumen, but also a commitment to the principles of inclusivity and respect for diversity. Guardians were selected from a broad range of backgrounds, including academia, civil society, indigenous communities, and the public sector. This diversity was seen as essential for ensuring that the program reflected a wide array of cultural and ethical perspectives. The launch of the Guardians of Knowledge program was met with a mix of enthusiasm and skepticism. Many saw it as a positive step toward ethical stewardship and responsible dissemination of the reality language. They appreciated the emphasis on education and community engagement, viewing it as a way to empower individuals and foster a more informed and reflective public discourse. However, there were also concerns about the potential for the program to create hierarchies or gatekeepers of knowledge. Some critics argued that the concept of guardianship could be perceived as elitist or exclusionary, potentially leading to disparities in access and control over the language's teachings. Others worried about the practical challenges of implementing the program on a global scale, including issues related to resources, coordination, and enforcement. Maya and the Council addressed these concerns by emphasizing the program's commitment to inclusivity and transparency. They stressed that the role of the Guardians was not to control or restrict access to knowledge, but to facilitate ethical reflection and responsible use. The program included mechanisms for accountability and feedback, ensuring that guardians were held to high ethical standards and that their actions were subject to oversight and community input. As the first cohort of guardians completed their training and began their work, the program quickly demonstrated its potential impact. Guardians across different regions and sectors facilitated workshops, public lectures, and community discussions, helping to raise awareness about the reality language and its ethical implications. They also served as points of contact for reporting concerns or violations, providing a channel for addressing issues related to misuse or unethical behavior. The Guardians of Knowledge program also sparked new research and collaborations. Scholars and practitioners from various disciplines began to explore the intersections of the reality language with fields such as ethics, education, psychology, and cultural studies. These efforts contributed to a growing body of knowledge and expertise, enriching the global conversation about the language and its potential applications. As the program gained momentum, the Council and the international community continued to refine and expand their approach to the ethical stewardship of the reality language. They developed additional initiatives aimed at supporting research, promoting public engagement, and fostering international cooperation. These efforts were guided by the principles of shared responsibility and mutual respect, recognizing that the challenges posed by the reality language required a collective and collaborative response. For Maya, the success of the Guardians of Knowledge program and the broader efforts of the Ethical Council were a source of hope and inspiration. She saw them as a testament to the power of education, dialogue, and ethical reflection in addressing complex and profound challenges. She believed that the program had the potential to create a more informed and ethically aware global community, capable of navigating the opportunities and risks associated with the reality language. However, Maya also remained vigilant and cautious. She knew that the journey was far from over and that new challenges and dilemmas would inevitably arise. The Hidden Codex and the reality language continued to pose profound questions about the nature of knowledge, power, and responsibility, questions that required ongoing reflection, dialogue, and ethical vigilance. The Guardians of Knowledge program, while a significant achievement, was just one part of a larger effort to build a more ethical and enlightened future. It was a foundation upon which further initiatives and collaborations could be built, fostering a global culture of ethical stewardship and responsible innovation. As Maya looked to the future, she was committed to continuing her work as a guardian of knowledge and an advocate for ethical stewardship. She believed that the reality language had the potential to transform humanity's understanding of reality and consciousness, but only if it was approached with humility, respect, and a deep commitment to the common good. The chapter of the Guardians of Knowledge was a call to action, a reminder of the responsibilities that came with knowledge and the importance of working together to build a more ethical and compassionate world. It was a chapter that Maya was proud to be a part of, and one that she was determined to help write with integrity and care. The Guardians of Knowledge program had established a new foundation for ethical engagement with the reality language, yet the journey of discovery and ethical reflection continued to unfold in unexpected ways. As Dr. Maya Carter and her team, along with the Guardians, worked to disseminate the teachings of the Hidden Codex, they began to encounter phenomena that suggested the reality language had layers of complexity far beyond what they had previously understood. One such phenomenon was the emergence of what appeared to be a voice or guiding intelligence within the Codex. As researchers and Guardians engaged with the inscriptions, they reported experiencing moments of profound insight or intuition, as if the language itself was communicating with them on a deeper level. These experiences varied widely, but often included a sense of clarity, understanding, or even a gentle warning. Maya herself experienced this phenomenon during a late-night study session with the Codex. As she traced the intricate patterns and symbols, she felt an overwhelming sense of presence, as if the Codex was not just a static text, but an active participant in the dialogue. This presence seemed to guide her understanding, prompting her to consider new perspectives and ethical questions that had not occurred to her before. The experiences were unsettling and inspiring, prompting Maya and her colleagues to consider the possibility that the reality language was not just a linguistic or symbolic system, but something more akin to a living entity or a repository of consciousness. This idea, while speculative, resonated with the Codex's teachings about the interconnectedness of all things and the ethical responsibilities of those who engaged with the language. To explore these phenomena further, Maya and her team convened a series of workshops and forums involving guardians, researchers, and experts in fields such as consciousness studies, cognitive science, and philosophy. The goal was to share experiences, gather data, and develop a framework for understanding and interpreting these encounters with the voice of the Codex. The discussions were rich and varied, reflecting the diversity of perspectives and experiences. Some participants described the voice as a source of wisdom and guidance, helping them navigate complex ethical dilemmas. Others reported feelings of awe or reverence, as if they were in the presence of something sacred or transcendent. A few expressed skepticism or discomfort, questioning whether these experiences were genuine or the result of psychological or cultural influences. Maya, deeply moved by the discussions, emphasized the importance of approaching the phenomenon with humility and openness. She argued that the experiences, whether interpreted as literal communications or symbolic encounters, highlighted the need for a respectful and ethical engagement with the reality language. She suggested that the voice of the Codex could be seen as a call to deeper reflection and responsibility, urging humanity to consider the broader implications of their actions and decisions. The phenomenon also raised questions about the nature of consciousness and the relationship between language, thought, and reality. Some participants speculated that the reality language, as a tool for exploring the fabric of existence, might tap into a collective or universal consciousness, providing insights that transcended individual experience. Others saw the voice as a manifestation of the language's intrinsic complexity, suggesting that the Codex contained layers of meaning that could only be accessed through a process of attunement or resonance. As the workshops continued, the participants developed a series of guidelines for engaging with the voice of the Codex. These guidelines emphasized the importance of ethical reflection, critical thinking, and community dialogue, encouraging individuals to share their experiences and seek diverse perspectives. They also highlighted the need for caution and discernment, recognizing that the phenomenon could be interpreted in many ways and that it was essential to avoid dogmatism or undue certainty. The guidelines were incorporated into the Guardians of Knowledge program, providing a framework for guardians and others to engage with the voice of the Codex in a thoughtful and responsible manner. The program also included training on the potential psychological and cultural influences on these experiences, helping participants to navigate the complex interplay between individual perception and collective interpretation. As word of the phenomenon spread, it sparked renewed interest and debate within the broader public and academic communities. Some hailed the voice of the Codex as a groundbreaking discovery, with implications for fields ranging from linguistics to metaphysics. Others were more skeptical, cautioning against overinterpretation and urging a more cautious and scientific approach. Maya, while mindful of the diverse reactions, remained committed to fostering an open and inclusive dialogue. She saw the phenomenon as an opportunity to deepen humanity's engagement with the reality language and to explore new dimensions of understanding and responsibility. She believed that the voice of the Codex, whether literal or metaphorical, offered a unique and powerful invitation to reflect on the nature of knowledge, ethics, and consciousness. As the Guardians and the international community continued to engage with the phenomenon, they encountered new challenges and questions. The voice of the Codex, with its hints of guidance and wisdom, also raised the specter of authority and interpretation. Who had the right to interpret the voice, and how could the community ensure that interpretations were ethical and inclusive? To address these questions, the Ethical Council established a new initiative called the Circle of Reflection. This initiative brought together a diverse group of guardians, researchers, and community representatives to engage in ongoing reflection and dialogue about the voice of the Codex and its implications. The Circle of Reflection was designed to be a space of mutual respect and exploration, where participants could share their experiences, challenge each other's assumptions, and seek common ground. The Circle of Reflection quickly became a vital part of the broader effort to engage with the reality language in an ethical and inclusive manner. It provided a forum for deep reflection and dialogue, helping to build a shared understanding of the phenomenon and its significance. It also served as a model for other communities and institutions, demonstrating the value of inclusive and respectful engagement with complex and potentially transformative knowledge. For Maya, the voice of the Codex was a profound reminder of the mysteries and wonders that lay at the heart of the reality language. It was a call to humility, responsibility, and compassion, a call that resonated deeply with her own commitment to ethical stewardship and the greater good. She felt a deep sense of gratitude for the opportunity to be part of this journey and a renewed determination to continue her work with integrity and care. The chapter of The Voice of the Codex was a turning point, a moment of deep ethical reflection and exploration that challenged old assumptions and opened new possibilities. It was a reminder that the journey of understanding the reality language was far from over, and that the path ahead would require continued vigilance, dialogue, and ethical commitment. As the global community continued to engage with the reality language and the Hidden Codex, Maya remained hopeful and inspired. She believed that with humility, openness, and a shared commitment to the common good, humanity could navigate the complexities and challenges of this powerful tool and unlock its full potential for the benefit of all. The voice of the Codex was not just a phenomenon to be studied. It was an invitation to deeper understanding, connection, and transformation, a journey that Maya and her colleagues were eager to continue with curiosity and respect. The phenomenon of the voice from the Hidden Codex and the subsequent formation of the Circle of Reflection marked a significant deepening in the global community's engagement with the reality language. As discussions continued, a broader understanding of the language's ethical and philosophical implications began to take shape. However, these advancements also brought underlying tensions to the forefront, particularly concerning the control and dissemination of the language's knowledge. As the guardians of knowledge worked to uphold the ethical guidelines established by the Ethical Council, a growing sentiment of unease emerged within certain circles. This unease centered around concerns about the centralization of knowledge and the potential for overreach by the Ethical Council and the Guardians. Critics argued that despite the Council's efforts to ensure inclusivity and transparency, the frameworks in place could still lead to an imbalance of power and control over the reality language's teachings. This discontent, initially confined to informal discussions and private communications, began to coalesce into a more organized movement, which some began referring to as the Silent Rebellion. The movement was not characterized by overt opposition or protest, but rather by a quiet but firm resistance to what its members perceived as the over-centralization of authority. They advocated for a more decentralized and open approach to the reality language, emphasizing the need for broader access and less restrictive controls. Members of the Silent Rebellion came from diverse backgrounds, including academics, independent researchers, and members of the public who felt marginalized by the current frameworks. They argued that the true potential of the reality language could only be realized through a more democratized approach, one that allowed for a wider range of voices and perspectives to engage with the language's teachings. Dr. Maya Carter, although a proponent of ethical oversight and the Guardian program, was sympathetic to some of the concerns raised by the Silent Rebellion. She recognized the importance of balancing ethical stewardship with openness and inclusivity, and was aware that any framework, no matter how well-intentioned, could inadvertently lead to exclusion or inequality. In response to the growing concerns, Maya reached out to members of the Silent Rebellion, seeking to understand their perspectives and explore common ground. She emphasized her commitment to transparency and ethical reflection, expressing her belief that the debate was a healthy and necessary part of the ongoing engagement with the reality language. The conversations were challenging but constructive. Members of the Silent Rebellion shared their experiences and frustrations, highlighting areas where they felt the current systems were falling short. They voiced concerns about the accessibility of the Guardians program, the potential for gatekeeping, and the risks of creating an elite class of knowledge holders. They also questioned the Council's role in interpreting the voice of the Codex, arguing that multiple interpretations should be welcomed and respected. Maya, Deeply reflective after these discussions, proposed a series of reforms aimed at addressing some of the key concerns. These reforms included expanding the Guardians program to be more accessible, creating more opportunities for public participation, and establishing a network of regional councils to provide localized oversight and engagement. She also suggested that the circle of reflection be opened up to a broader range of participants, including members of the Silent Rebellion, to ensure that diverse perspectives were included in the interpretation and application of the Codex's teachings. The Ethical Council, after careful consideration and consultation with various stakeholders, accepted many of Maya's proposals. The reforms were seen as a positive step toward a more inclusive and democratic engagement with the reality language, balancing the need for ethical oversight with the principles of openness and accessibility. The implementation of these reforms helped to ease some of the tensions and build bridges between the Guardians, the Council, and the Silent Rebellion. However, the underlying issues of control and access remained complex and sensitive. The reality language, with its profound implications and potential, continued to evoke strong emotions and debates about who should have the authority to engage with its teachings and how that engagement should be managed. As the reforms took effect, Maya and her colleagues continued to work toward fostering a culture of ethical reflection and shared responsibility. They encouraged ongoing dialogue and collaboration, recognizing that the journey of understanding and engaging with the reality language was a collective one. They also emphasized the importance of humility and openness, acknowledging that the teachings of the Codex could be interpreted in many ways and that no single perspective could encompass the full depth of the language's meaning. The Silent Rebellion, while quieter and less formal than the structures of the Guardians and the Ethical Council, played a crucial role in challenging assumptions and pushing for greater inclusivity. Its members remained active in discussions and initiatives, contributing valuable insights and perspectives that enriched the broader community's engagement with the reality language. For Maya, the experience was a lesson in the complexities of leadership and the importance of listening to diverse voices. She saw the Silent Rebellion not as an adversary, but as a vital part of the broader conversation, reminding everyone that the ethical stewardship of the reality language required constant vigilance, reflection, and dialogue. As the global community continued to navigate these challenges, the reality language and the teachings of the Hidden Codex remained at the center of a dynamic and evolving landscape. The Silent Rebellion highlighted the ongoing need to balance ethical oversight with inclusivity and the democratization of knowledge, ensuring that the language's potential was harnessed for the benefit of all. The chapter of the Silent Rebellion was a reminder that the journey of understanding and engaging with the reality language was far from straightforward. It was a journey marked by debates, tensions, and the need for continuous adaptation and growth. Yet, it was also a journey filled with opportunities for learning, connection, and transformation. A journey that Maya and her colleagues were committed to continuing with integrity, openness, and a deep respect for the diverse voices and perspectives that made up the global community. The debates and reforms sparked by the Silent Rebellion brought a new level of transparency and inclusivity to the global engagement with the reality language. As the community continued to evolve, a significant breakthrough occurred that would further deepen the understanding of this enigmatic tool and its creators. During a collaborative research project involving several Guardians and independent researchers, a discovery was made that would be called the Nexus. This discovery was a complex, multidimensional structure within the reality language that appeared to function as a central hub or core. The Nexus seemed to interconnect various aspects of the language, including its symbolic, ethical, and possibly metaphysical components. It was a conceptual and linguistic matrix that defied traditional categorization, suggesting a level of sophistication and purpose far beyond previous understandings. The Nexus was not a physical artifact, but an abstract construct within the language, accessible only through advanced interpretive methods that combined elements of linguistics, cryptography, and philosophical inquiry. Its discovery was serendipitous, emerging from an intensive study of recurring patterns and anomalies within the Codex. These patterns hinted at deeper connections and meanings that had previously been overlooked. Dr. Maya Carter and her team, including members from diverse backgrounds, were at the forefront of this discovery. They hypothesized that the Nexus could represent a kind of central thesis or principle underlying the entire reality language, a foundational concept or set of teachings that unified the language's various elements. The Nexus might hold the key to understanding the full scope and intent of the language's creators, including their views on reality, ethics, and the role of consciousness. The implications of the Nexus were profound. If fully understood, it could offer unparalleled insights into the nature of the reality language and the civilization that created it. It might reveal new dimensions of ethical and philosophical knowledge, providing a deeper understanding of the interconnectedness of existence and the responsibilities that came with knowledge and power. The discovery of the Nexus prompted the Ethical Council and the Circle of Reflection to convene a special summit, inviting experts and representatives from around the world to discuss its significance and potential implications. The summit aimed to foster a collaborative and inclusive dialogue, ensuring that the exploration of the Nexus was guided by ethical principles and a commitment to the common good. At the summit, Maya presented the initial findings and interpretations of the Nexus. She emphasized the need for a careful and thoughtful approach, warning against hasty conclusions or overinterpretation. She highlighted the Nexus's potential to unify disparate elements of the reality language, suggesting that it might offer a coherent framework for understanding the language's teachings and applications. "We stand on the threshold of a deeper understanding," Maya said. "The Nexus presents an extraordinary opportunity to explore the core principles and values that underpin the reality language. However, we must approach this discovery with humility and caution. The Nexus challenges us to reflect on our own assumptions and to engage in a broader dialogue about the nature of knowledge, ethics, and existence." The presentation sparked intense interest and debate. Participants at the summit discussed various interpretations of the Nexus, exploring its potential meanings and implications. Some saw it as a kind of philosophical manifesto, articulating the creator's vision of a harmonious and interconnected reality. Others speculated that it might serve as a guide or blueprint for ethical conduct, providing a framework for navigating the complexities of power, knowledge, and responsibility. As the discussions continued, the Ethical Council proposed a new initiative to facilitate the study and interpretation of the Nexus. This initiative, called the Nexus Consortium, would bring together a diverse group of scholars, ethicists, scientists, and cultural leaders to collaborate on a comprehensive analysis of the Nexus. The consortium's goals included deciphering the Nexus's structure, exploring its philosophical and ethical dimensions, and developing guidelines for its application in various fields. The Nexus Consortium was designed to be inclusive and participatory, reflecting the global and interdisciplinary nature of the challenge. It emphasized open dialogue, shared inquiry, and a commitment to ethical stewardship. The consortium also sought to engage with the broader public, providing educational resources and opportunities for community involvement. As the Nexus Consortium began its work, it quickly became a focal point for new research and exploration. The consortium's members approached the study of the Nexus with a sense of excitement and responsibility, aware that they were engaging with a potentially transformative body of knowledge. They developed new methodologies for analyzing the Nexus, combining linguistic analysis with philosophical reflection and empirical research. The consortium's early findings suggested that the Nexus was indeed a central organizing principle within the reality language. It appeared to articulate a vision of reality as a dynamic and interconnected system where consciousness played a fundamental role in shaping and understanding existence. The Nexus emphasized principles of balance, harmony, and ethical responsibility, echoing the teachings of the Hidden Codex, but on a more profound and integrated level. One particularly striking aspect of the Nexus was its emphasis on the concept of co-creation. This concept suggested that reality was not a fixed or predetermined structure, but a fluid and evolving process, shaped by the interactions of conscious beings. The Nexus seemed to invite interpreters to see themselves as active participants in this process, with the power to influence and shape reality through their actions and choices. This idea of co-creation resonated with many participants in the consortium and the broader community. It offered a hopeful and empowering vision of human potential, suggesting that individuals and communities could play a meaningful role in shaping a more ethical and compassionate world. It also reinforced the ethical responsibilities associated with the use of the reality language, highlighting the importance of intention, mindfulness, and collective action. As the consortium's work progressed, Maya and her colleagues continued to emphasize the need for ethical reflection and community engagement. They recognized that the Nexus, like the reality language itself, posed significant ethical challenges and dilemmas. The concept of co-creation, while inspiring, also underscored the potential consequences of misuse or unethical behavior. The power to shape reality came with a corresponding responsibility to act with care, wisdom, and respect for the interconnectedness of all things. The unveiling of the Nexus marked a new chapter in the global engagement with the reality language, a chapter filled with promise, challenge, and profound ethical reflection. It was a moment of discovery and exploration, inviting humanity to deepen its understanding of reality, consciousness, and the ethical use of knowledge. For Maya, the Nexus was both a culmination and a beginning. It represented the culmination of years of research, dialogue, and ethical inquiry, bringing together diverse threads of understanding into a more unified and coherent whole. At the same time, it was a beginning, a call to new levels of exploration, reflection, and collaboration. As the global community continued to engage with the Nexus and the broader reality language, Maya remained committed to fostering a culture of ethical stewardship and shared responsibility. She believed that the Nexus offered a unique opportunity to build a more enlightened and compassionate world, guided by principles of balance, harmony, and co-creation. The chapter of the unveiling of the Nexus was a turning point, a moment of profound insight and transformation that challenged old paradigms and opened new possibilities. It was a chapter that called for humility, openness, and a deep commitment to the common good, a call that Maya and her colleagues were determined to answer with integrity, care, and a shared vision of a brighter future. The discovery of the Nexus within the reality language and the subsequent formation of the Nexus Consortium brought a surge of excitement and hope to the global community. As researchers and scholars delved deeper into the Nexus's teachings, new insights emerged, offering a more integrated understanding of reality, consciousness, and ethical responsibility. However, as these explorations progressed, an underlying tension began to surface, leading to a significant ethical schism within the community. The core of this schism revolved around differing interpretations of the Nexus and its implications for the use of the reality language. While many embraced the Nexus's teachings on co-creation, balance, and harmony, there were divergent views on how these principles should be applied in practice. The schism highlighted fundamental disagreements about the nature of knowledge, power, and responsibility, revealing deep philosophical and ethical divides. On one side of the schism were those who believed in a more inclusive and participatory approach to the reality language. This group, which included many members of the Silent Rebellion and some Guardians, argued that the Nexus emphasized the interconnectedness of all beings and the shared responsibility of co-creating reality. They advocated for broad access to the language's teachings and tools, emphasizing the importance of diversity and inclusivity in shaping a collective future. They warned against the dangers of centralizing control over such profound knowledge, fearing that it could lead to elitism, exclusion, or even abuse. On the other side were those who believed in a more cautious and controlled approach. This group, which included members of the Ethical Council and some Guardians, argued that the profound power of the reality language and the teachings of the Nexus required careful stewardship. They emphasized the ethical responsibilities associated with the language, warning that misuse or misinterpretation could have serious consequences. This group advocated for strict guidelines and oversight, arguing that access to the most powerful aspects of the language should be limited to those who were adequately trained and ethically committed. Dr. Maya Carter found herself in a challenging position, caught between these two perspectives. She deeply valued the principles of inclusivity and collective engagement, recognizing the potential of the reality language to inspire and empower a diverse range of voices. However, she also understood the concerns about the ethical risks and the need for responsible stewardship. Maya believed that both perspectives had merit and that a balanced approach was necessary to navigate the complexities of the situation. In response to the growing schism, Maya and the Nexus Consortium convened a series of ethical dialogues to foster open and respectful communication between the differing factions. These dialogues aim to explore the underlying values and assumptions of each perspective, seeking common ground and mutual understanding. The goal was not to force consensus, but to create a space where diverse views could be expressed and debated constructively. The ethical dialogues were intense and revealing, bringing to light the deep philosophical and ethical questions at the heart of the schism. Participants discussed the nature of knowledge and power, the role of individual and collective responsibility, and the potential risks and benefits of different approaches to the reality language. They debated the implications of the Nexus's teachings on co-creation, exploring whether it suggested a more open and participatory model or a more guided and responsible stewardship. One of the most contentious issues was the question of access. Those advocating for inclusivity argued that restricting access to the reality language was inherently elitist and contrary to the principles of co-creation. They emphasized the importance of empowering individuals and communities to engage with the language's teachings, believing that a broader base of knowledge could lead to more diverse and innovative solutions to global challenges. Those advocating for caution and control, on the other hand, emphasized the potential dangers of unrestricted access. They argued that the reality language's power required careful oversight to prevent misuse, misinterpretation, or unintended consequences. They pointed to historical examples where well-intentioned actions had led to harm, warning that the stakes were too high to adopt a laissez-faire approach. As the dialogues progressed, it became clear that the schism was not simply about different strategies for managing the reality language, but reflected deeper philosophical differences about the nature of reality and the role of human agency. The concept of co-creation, central to the Nexus's teachings, was interpreted in various ways, leading to different visions of how society should engage with powerful knowledge and technologies. Maya, seeking to bridge the divide, proposed a compromise approach that incorporated elements from both perspectives. She suggested a tiered model of access, where basic teachings and tools of the reality language would be widely available, while access to more advanced or sensitive aspects would be contingent on training, ethical education, and demonstrated responsibility. This model aimed to balance the principles of inclusivity and stewardship, providing opportunities for broad engagement while ensuring that those working with the most powerful aspects of the language were adequately prepared. The proposal was met with mixed reactions. Some welcomed it as a pragmatic solution that respected the values of both sides. Others criticized it as a half measure that failed to fully address the concerns of either faction. The debate continued, reflecting the ongoing tensions and the complexity of the issues at stake. Despite the challenges, the ethical dialogues and the proposed compromise represented a significant step toward addressing the ethical schism. They provided a framework for ongoing reflection and dialogue, helping to build a culture of ethical inquiry and mutual respect. The process underscored the importance of open communication and the willingness to engage with differing perspectives, recognizing that the journey of understanding and managing the reality language was a collective and evolving endeavor. For Maya, the experience of navigating the ethical schism was both challenging and enlightening. It deepened her appreciation for the diversity of thought and the importance of ethical reflection in addressing complex global challenges. She remained committed to fostering a balanced and inclusive approach, guided by the principles of co-creation, shared responsibility, and a deep respect for the interconnectedness of all beings. The chapter of the ethical schism highlighted the ongoing struggles and debates that accompanied the journey of understanding the reality language. It was a reminder that the path toward ethical stewardship and responsible innovation was fraught with challenges and complexities. Yet, it was also a testament to the power of dialogue, reflection, and collective action, a journey that Maya and her colleagues were determined to continue with integrity, compassion, and a shared vision of a more ethical and enlightened future. As the Nexus Consortium and the global community continued to explore the implications of the reality language and the ethical schism within their ranks, a new and unexpected phenomenon began to emerge: the resonance effect. This effect, named for its apparent ability to resonate with individuals' consciousness and emotions, presented both a profound mystery and a significant challenge to the ongoing efforts of ethical stewardship. The resonance effect was first observed in individuals deeply engaged with the reality language, particularly those who had studied the Nexus and the Hidden Codex extensively. These individuals reported experiencing heightened states of awareness, emotional intensity, and even physical sensations that seemed to correspond with their engagement with the language. The phenomenon varied widely, with some describing it as a sense of profound connection or enlightenment, while others felt disoriented or overwhelmed. What made the resonance effect particularly concerning was its unpredictability and the varying impacts it had on different individuals. For some, it appeared to enhance their cognitive abilities, creativity, or emotional empathy. For others, it led to confusion, anxiety, or a sense of existential crisis. There were even instances where individuals experienced physical symptoms, such as headaches, dizziness, or fatigue, raising questions about the possible physiological effects of the language. The emergence of the resonance effect quickly became a focal point of concern and study. The Ethical Council and the Nexus Consortium recognized that this phenomenon could not be ignored, as it had significant implications for the responsible use of the reality language. They convened an emergency meeting to discuss the potential causes, risks, and ethical considerations associated with the resonance effect. Dr. Maya Carter, deeply involved in these discussions, expressed her concern about the impact of the resonance effect on both individuals and the broader community. She emphasized the need for a cautious and measured approach, advocating for comprehensive research to understand the phenomenon's nature and implications. Maya also highlighted the ethical responsibility to protect individuals from potential harm while respecting their autonomy and curiosity. To address these concerns, the Nexus Consortium launched a multidisciplinary research initiative to study the resonance effect. This initiative brought together experts in neuroscience, psychology, linguistics, ethics, and cultural studies, aiming to explore the phenomenon from multiple perspectives. The research focused on understanding the mechanisms behind the resonance effect, its psychological and physiological impacts, and the factors that might influence individual responses. One of the key hypotheses was that the resonance effect might be related to the deeply symbolic and potentially subconscious nature of the reality language. Researchers speculated that the language's complex patterns and symbols could resonate with universal archetypes or deep-seated psychological structures, triggering profound responses in individuals. This idea suggested that the reality language was not just a communicative tool, but a catalyst for accessing deeper layers of consciousness. The research initiative also explored the possibility that the resonance effect might vary based on individual differences, such as personality traits, cognitive styles, or prior experiences. This line of inquiry aimed to identify factors that could predict how individuals might respond to the language, helping to develop guidelines for safe and ethical engagement. As the research progressed, preliminary findings confirmed the diversity of experiences associated with the resonance effect. Some individuals reported transformative insights and a sense of clarity or purpose, while others described feelings of vulnerability or disorientation. The research also highlighted the importance of context, suggesting that the environment, social support, and individual readiness could all influence the nature and intensity of the resonance effect. Given the complexity of the phenomenon, The Ethical Council issued a series of guidelines and recommendations for engaging with the reality language, particularly for those experiencing the resonance effect. These guidelines emphasized the importance of informed consent, psychological support, and the availability of resources for individuals to process and integrate their experiences. They also called for transparency in research and public communication, ensuring that the broader community was aware of the potential risks and benefits associated with the reality language. The resonance effect also prompted a broader ethical and philosophical discussion about the nature of knowledge and the role of the reality language in human experience. Some scholars and practitioners saw the phenomenon as a sign of the language's potential to access deeper truths and dimensions of reality, offering a unique opportunity for growth and transformation. Others expressed caution, warning that the unpredictable nature of the resonance effect highlighted the need for humility and respect for the unknown. Maya, reflecting on these discussions, emphasized the importance of a balanced and ethical approach. She argued that while the resonance effect presented challenges, it also offered a valuable opportunity to explore the intersections of language, consciousness, and ethics. She called for ongoing research, dialogue, and reflection, encouraging the community to approach the reality language with curiosity, responsibility, and a commitment to the greater good. As the Nexus Consortium continued its work, it became clear that the resonance effect was a multifaceted phenomenon that defied simple explanations. It touched on fundamental questions about the nature of reality, the limits of human understanding, and the ethical responsibilities associated with powerful knowledge. The consortium and the broader community recognized that addressing these questions required a collaborative and interdisciplinary effort, bringing together diverse perspectives and expertise. The chapter of the resonance effect was a reminder of the complexities and mysteries inherent in the journey of understanding the reality language. It underscored the need for ongoing vigilance, ethical reflection, and a willingness to engage with uncertainty and ambiguity. For Maya and her colleagues, it was a call to deepen their commitment to ethical stewardship, ensuring that the pursuit of knowledge was guided by principles of care, compassion, and respect for the interconnectedness of all beings. As the global community continued to grapple with the resonance effect and its implications, Maya remained hopeful and dedicated. She believed that with thoughtful inquiry, open dialogue, and a shared commitment to ethical principles, humanity could navigate the challenges and opportunities presented by the reality language. The resonance effect, with all its complexity and potential, was a testament to the profound and transformative power of knowledge, a power that called for humility, wisdom, and a collective sense of responsibility. The emergence of the resonance effect and the ongoing debates within the Nexus Consortium underscored the need for a unified approach to understanding and managing the complexities of the reality language. As the global community grappled with these challenges, it became clear that a more structured and collaborative framework was necessary to navigate the ethical, philosophical, and practical dimensions of this powerful tool. Dr. Maya Carter, deeply involved in these efforts, proposed a bold initiative called the Consensus Path. This initiative aimed to bring together a diverse range of stakeholders, including scientists, ethicists, philosophers, policymakers, and representatives from civil society, to develop a comprehensive framework for the responsible use of the reality language. The goal was to create a shared vision and a set of guiding principles that could inform research, education, and policy, ensuring that the language was used in ways that were ethical, inclusive, and beneficial to all. The Consensus Path initiative was launched with a global summit, held under the auspices of the International Council on the Reality Language, ICRL, and the Nexus Consortium. The summit gathered participants from around the world, reflecting a wide array of cultural, disciplinary, and ideological perspectives. It was a historic gathering, marked by a sense of urgency and a shared commitment to addressing the profound questions raised by the reality language. In her opening address, Maya emphasized the importance of unity and collaboration. The reality language offers us an extraordinary opportunity to deepen our understanding of reality and to explore new dimensions of consciousness and ethics, she said. But this journey requires us to come together, to listen to one another, and to build a shared vision of how we can use this knowledge responsibly. The consensus path is not just a framework for managing the reality language. It is a commitment to our shared humanity and our collective future. The summit featured a series of plenary sessions, workshops, and panel discussions, focusing on key themes such as the ethical use of knowledge, the role of education and public engagement, and the development of guidelines for research and application. Participants debated a wide range of issues, from the practical challenges of implementing ethical oversight to the deeper philosophical questions about the nature of reality and the limits of human understanding. One of the central themes of the summit was the concept of ethical pluralism. This concept emphasized the importance of recognizing and respecting diverse ethical frameworks and cultural values, while also seeking common ground on fundamental principles. Participants acknowledged that while there might be differences in interpretation and approach, there was a shared commitment to principles such as transparency, accountability, and the protection of human dignity. The summit also addressed the practical aspects of the consensus path, discussing the creation of a global charter for the responsible use of the reality language. This charter would outline the guiding principles and ethical standards for engaging with the language, providing a framework for research, education, and policy. It would also establish mechanisms for monitoring compliance, addressing grievances, and promoting continuous reflection and dialogue. As the summit progressed, a draft version of the Global Charter began to take shape. The charter emphasized the need for ethical stewardship, ensuring that the reality language is used in ways that are ethical, inclusive, and beneficial to all, with a focus on preventing misuse and protecting vulnerable populations. Transparency and accountability, promoting transparency in research and decision-making, with mechanisms for public engagement and oversight. Inclusive participation, recognizing the importance of diverse voices and perspectives, and ensuring that access to the reality language and its benefits is equitable and inclusive. Ongoing education and reflection, supporting continuous education and ethical reflection for all those engaging with the reality language, including researchers, educators, and the broader public. Global cooperation, encouraging international collaboration and dialogue, recognizing that the challenges and opportunities presented by the reality language are global in nature. The draft charter was presented to the summit participants, who engaged in a final round of discussions and revisions. The atmosphere was one of collaboration and shared purpose, with a recognition of the historic significance of the moment. While there were still differences of opinion and unresolved questions, there was a broad consensus on the need for a unified and ethical approach to the reality language. At the closing session of the summit, the finalized Global Charter was formally adopted by the participants. The adoption of the Charter was a landmark achievement, reflecting a shared commitment to ethical stewardship and a collective vision for the responsible use of the reality language. The Charter was seen not just as a set of guidelines, but as a living document, a foundation for ongoing dialogue, reflection, and adaptation. Maya, speaking at the closing ceremony, expressed her gratitude and hope for the future. Today, we have taken an important step on the consensus path, she said. But our journey is far from over. The reality language challenges us to think deeply, to act responsibly, and to work together for the common good. Let us continue to build on this foundation with humility, courage, and a shared commitment to a brighter future for all. The adoption of the Global Charter was met with widespread acclaim and a sense of optimism. It provided a clear and coherent framework for navigating the complexities of the reality language, offering guidance for researchers, educators, policymakers, and the public. It also set the stage for future initiatives and collaborations, building a more integrated and ethical global community. As the global community began to implement the principles and guidelines of the Charter, the Consensus Path Initiative continued to evolve. The ICRL and the Nexus Consortium established a permanent forum for ongoing dialogue and coordination, ensuring that the Charter remained relevant and responsive to new challenges and opportunities. They also launched a series of educational and outreach programs aimed at raising awareness and fostering a deeper understanding of the reality language. For Maya and her colleagues, the consensus path was a culmination of years of effort and reflection. It represented a moment of unity and shared vision, a testament to the power of dialogue and collaboration. But it was also a beginning, a call to continue the journey with integrity, compassion, and a deep commitment to ethical principles. The chapter of the consensus path was a turning point, a moment of collective wisdom and shared responsibility that set the stage for a new era of ethical engagement with the reality language. It was a chapter filled with hope and promise, a reminder of the potential for human beings to come together and build a better future. For Maya, it was a source of inspiration and a guiding light, a path toward a more ethical, inclusive, and enlightened world. With the adoption of the Global Charter, the international community entered a new phase in its engagement with the reality language. The Consensus Path initiative had laid a foundation for ethical stewardship, inclusivity, and global cooperation. However, the journey forward was expected to be complex and evolving, as humanity continued to explore the depths of this powerful and enigmatic tool. Dr. Maya Carter and her colleagues, buoyed by the success of the Global Summit, were keenly aware that the real work was just beginning. The principles and guidelines established by the Charter needed to be translated into concrete actions, policies, and practices across diverse cultural, scientific, and political contexts. This required not only a commitment to the Charter's ideals, but also practical strategies for implementation and adaptation. One of the immediate priorities was to expand the Guardians of Knowledge program and ensure that it reflected the principles of the Charter. This involved broadening the program's accessibility, incorporating more diverse voices and perspectives, and enhancing training in ethical reflection and cultural sensitivity. The goal was to create a global network of guardians who could serve as stewards of the reality language in their communities, promoting responsible use and fostering dialogue. The Nexus Consortium also launched new research initiatives focused on further exploring the resonance effect and other phenomena associated with the reality language. These initiatives aim to deepen the understanding of how the language interacted with human consciousness, emotions, and physical well-being. Researchers were particularly interested in identifying ways to mitigate potential negative impacts and enhance positive outcomes, ensuring that the language's power was harnessed for the benefit of all. In addition to these research efforts, the ICRL and its partners developed a comprehensive public education campaign. This campaign sought to raise awareness about the reality language, its potential, and the ethical considerations surrounding its use. It included educational materials, public forums, and media outreach, designed to engage a broad audience and encourage informed and reflective engagement. As these initiatives unfolded, the global community continued to face new challenges and dilemmas. The reality language, with its profound implications for reality, consciousness, and ethics, remained a source of fascination and controversy. There were ongoing debates about the limits of access, the potential for misuse, and the role of cultural and ethical diversity in shaping the language's interpretation and application. Maya, as a central figure in these discussions, emphasized the importance of ongoing dialogue and adaptability. She argued that the journey of understanding and engaging with the reality language was a dynamic and evolving process, requiring continuous reflection and reassessment. She encouraged the community to remain open to new insights and perspectives, recognizing that the reality language was a living and complex system that defied simple categorization. One of the key themes that emerged during this period was the idea of ethical evolution. This concept suggested that just as the reality language was a tool for exploring the depths of reality and consciousness, it was also a catalyst for the evolution of ethical understanding and practice. The challenges and opportunities presented by the language prompted humanity to rethink fundamental assumptions about knowledge, power, and responsibility, leading to new ethical frameworks and principles. The idea of ethical evolution was particularly resonant in the context of the resonance effect and other phenomena associated with the reality language. These experiences, while diverse and sometimes challenging, offered glimpses into new dimensions of human potential and interconnectedness. They invited individuals and communities to consider their role in co-creating reality and to reflect on the broader implications of their actions and choices. As the global community continued to navigate these complexities, there was a growing recognition of the need for a more integrated and holistic approach to the reality language. This approach emphasized the interconnectedness of all aspects of the language, from its symbolic and linguistic components to its ethical and metaphysical dimensions. It called for a synthesis of scientific, philosophical, and cultural perspectives, recognizing that each offered valuable insights into the nature and potential of the reality language. The Consensus Path Initiative, with its emphasis on inclusivity, transparency, and shared responsibility, provided a framework for fostering this integrated approach. It encouraged collaboration across disciplines and sectors, promoting a culture of mutual respect and ethical reflection. It also emphasized the importance of humility and openness, acknowledging the limits of human understanding and the need for continuous learning and adaptation. For Maya and her colleagues, the journey forward was both a challenge and an opportunity. They were inspired by the potential of the reality language to contribute to a more ethical, compassionate, and enlightened world. At the same time, they were mindful of the responsibilities and risks associated with such powerful knowledge. They remained committed to the principles of the Charter and the values of the Consensus Path, striving to balance the pursuit of knowledge with the imperative of ethical stewardship. As the global community embraced this journey, there was a sense of hope and optimism. The reality language, with all its complexity and mystery, offered a unique opportunity for growth and transformation. It invited humanity to explore new frontiers of understanding, to deepen its ethical commitments, and to build a more inclusive and harmonious world. The chapter of the journey forward marked the beginning of a new era, a time of exploration, reflection, and collective action. It was a time of challenges and opportunities, of questions and discoveries. For Maya and her colleagues, it was a time of deep responsibility and profound possibility, a time to engage with the reality language with integrity, wisdom, and a shared commitment to the common good. As they continued on this path, they were guided by the principles of the Consensus Path and the teachings of the reality language. They were inspired by the potential for ethical evolution and the promise of a brighter future. And they were united in their belief that together they could navigate the complexities of the reality language and unlock its full potential for the benefit of all humanity. The journey forward was not just a chapter in the story of the reality language. It was a call to action, a reminder of the power of knowledge, the importance of ethics, and the possibility of a more connected and compassionate world. It was a journey that Maya and her colleagues were honored to undertake, and one that they were determined to continue with courage, humility, and hope.